I want to start today with something most people never say out loud. Most women who lose the man they love didn't do anything wrong. They weren't neglectful, they weren't unkind. They showed up day after day with care and attention. And still slowly, quietly, something shifted. The warmth that once felt effortless began to fade. Conversations that used to feel alive now feel like work. And the most painful part, she often doesn't know why. I've spent 7 years working in relationship health and emotional wellness, sitting with couples, navigating exactly this. Hundreds of conversations, hundreds of stories. And here's what I've discovered over and over again across age groups and experiences. This disconnection almost always points to the same source. It's not a lack of love. It's not incompatibility. And it's not about age. There are 3 emotional needs men carry deeply quietly, often without the words to name them, that go unmet. Not because women don't care, but because nobody has ever explained what these needs truly are or why they matter at a level that reaches their heart and nervous system simultaneously. My name is Dr. Nora Hayes, and today we're going to explore these 3 needs clearly, honestly, and in a way that will shift how you understand him, your relationship, and your role in it. Before we go further, I want you to do something simple. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. This community, this shared curiosity about real love is extraordinary. Knowing who's here keeps this conversation alive, and I read every single comment. Here's a thought to carry with you. By the time most men reach their 60s, something fundamental has changed in their emotional landscape. The distractions of younger life, the career push, the social performance, the physical urgency have quieted. And in that quiet, the needs that were always there, tucked under the surface, suddenly rise to the forefront. These needs are not preferences. They're biologically and emotionally grounded necessities. And when they aren't met, even in relationships that are otherwise loving and stable, he starts to retreat in ways that look confusing to the outside world, but make perfect sense once you understand the underlying dynamics. Today, I'll break each one down: what it is, why it matters in the nervous system, how it shapes his behavior, and what you can do to meet it without losing yourself in the process. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Here's a myth I need to dismantle before we go any further. Most people, men, women, the advice industry, assume that a man's needs in a relationship are obvious surface-level things: respect, affection, space, support. Yes, these things matter, but they're behaviors, not needs. They describe actions without explaining why those actions work. And without understanding why, even the most loving woman can do everything right and still miss the part of him that's truly craving connection. Over 7 years in clinical practice, I've observed this consistently. By the time a man reaches his 60s, his emotional wiring is different. The same gestures that might have stirred him in his 40s or 50s no longer hold the same sway. His nervous system, refined by decades of experience and subtle disappointments, now responds to deeper, rarer qualities in relationships. These are not superficial things you can fake or perform. They are conditions that make him feel fully alive, fully known, fully respected, and they shape the way he invests himself emotionally. Let me give you an example. I worked with a couple in their late 60s. The man was a former executive, highly accomplished, careful in how he showed emotion. His wife had always tried to engage him, talk about feelings, offer advice. Yet he grew distant slowly, almost imperceptibly. Why? Because she was meeting him at the level of behavior, not need. He didn't need advice. He didn't need affirmation or entertainment. He needed conditions that allowed him to drop the mask, to feel safe, to be fully human without fear. Once she understood that and shifted her focus from fixing or managing him to simply providing space, safety, and genuine choice, something extraordinary happened. The warmth returned, conversations flowed, laughter returned, intimacy deepened. This is the kind of subtle but profound shift that most people miss, and it's exactly what we'll explore today. The 3 desperate needs men have in relationships that 95% of women never give, even when they love deeply. The first need is emotional safety, the space to be fully human. Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a man you love go quiet, retreat into himself? Not in anger, not in indifference, but in a way that felt like he was somewhere you couldn't reach. And no matter how you tried to connect, he seemed to pull back further. That silence has a name: fear of vulnerability. Many men of this generation were raised in cultures that discouraged emotional expression. Vulnerability was a liability. Fear was to be hidden. Weakness, even perceived weakness, could cost respect, trust, or admiration. So they became masters of containment, of presenting strength while suppressing the inner turbulence. By 60, this habit is decades deep, and the stakes feel higher, life is shorter, dignity is harder won, and there's less time to risk being misunderstood. Here's what happens biologically. Chronic emotional suppression keeps cortisol high, keeps the nervous system on alert. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is suppressed. Over time, the man withdraws. Not because he doesn't love, but because his system is quietly telling him it's unsafe to open. What he needs more than words, more than advice, is a space where he can put down the performance, where a moment of real feeling, fear, grief, tenderness doesn't cost him anything in your eyes, where he can simply be human and know that your regard for him will not waver. I remember a man in his late 60s, a retired engineer, who said to me, "The moment I realized I loved her was the first time I spoke about a fear I'd carried for 2 years. And she didn't try to fix it. She didn't panic. She just sat with me fully present. That is emotional safety. And when it exists, something amazing happens. Cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, and the man becomes more present, more open, and more emotionally available. Not because he's told to, but because he finally feels safe to be himself. When this need goes unmet, withdrawal is inevitable. Not dramatic, not angry, quiet and subtle, like warmth slowly leaving a room without anyone noticing the window is open. The second need is space without suspicion, the freedom to reset. This is where most confusion and unnecessary pain comes from. When a man retreats, it's almost never about you. His silence is not rejection, it's recovery. Neurologically, men process stress differently than women. Under emotional load, the male nervous system seeks low stimulation, solitude, quiet, repetitive, predictable activity to allow the prefrontal cortex to recalibrate. This isn't avoidance, it's physiological restoration. For men in their 60s, this need intensifies. What took 20 minutes in youth might now require an hour or more. And when that space is given without suspicion, interrogation, or misinterpretation, he returns softened, present, more fully himself. I worked with a couple in their 70s. The husband, during stressful weeks, would spend an hour in the backyard doing nothing in particular. Early in their relationship, his wife was anxious about it, but over time, she learned to trust his need for space without questioning it. He told me, "She gives me room to find myself. And because of that, I always find my way back to her." Women who provide this space without anxiety are magnetic to men at this life stage. They're offering something extraordinarily rare, freedom to be whole rather than pressure to be constantly present. Ask yourself, have you ever mistaken his need for quiet as a sign of disinterest? Share in the comments your experience could help someone else see this truth. The third need is twofold: respect and being chosen. Let's start with respect. At this stage of life, respect isn't manners or politeness. It's about trusting his judgment, acknowledging his competence, and honoring the decisions he makes. When a man feels chronically doubted, second-guessed, dismissed, or undervalued, his nervous system activates threat responses. Cortisol rises, oxytocin drops, warmth and engagement fade, not because of lack of love, but because he's protecting himself from repeated emotional invalidation. Restoring him is simple but rare. Small, genuine moments of trust. Ask his opinion. Let him handle things his way. Show not. Just say that you trust him. Now, the second part, being chosen. After 60, men know the difference between being needed and being wanted. They've experienced relationships where their presence was valued only for what they provided: stability, companionship, financial support, and felt the quiet grief of not being chosen for who they truly are. When a man is genuinely chosen, everything shifts. Tenderness deepens, devotion grows, presence becomes full-bodied, not transactional. He gives not because he must, but because he wants to. These needs, respect, and being chosen form the foundation for loyalty and emotional availability. Miss either one, and the warmth he offers quietly recedes. Let's bring this into practical territory for emotional safety. Notice one moment when he seems ready to share something real. Don't fix it, advise or reassure. Simply stay present. Let your silence be a gift, not an absence. For space without suspicion when he retreats, label it in your mind differently. Not he's pulling away, but he's resetting. Hold your center while he finds his. Trust the return for respect and being chosen. Identify something specific you trust about him, his judgment, his character, his way of handling life, and tell him. Not flattery, but honest acknowledgement. And check, are your daily actions communicating that you want him, not just what he provides? These shifts are quiet, consistent, and profoundly impactful. They create conditions for his warmth to surface naturally. To every woman who has loved deeply and felt like her partner was behind glass, he is not indifferent, not cold, and almost certainly not falling out of love. He is guarding what is tender, waiting for a relationship safe enough to finally lay his walls down. Love in the later decades is not quieter. It is deeper, chosen with eyes wide open, rooted in wisdom, patience, and mutual recognition of worth. The three needs we explored today, emotional safety, the freedom to reset, and respect, plus genuine choosing, are not small requests. They are the foundation of love that lasts, grows, and becomes the most valuable thing either person has. Meeting these needs asks nothing impossible, just presence over performance, trust over control, patience with silence, intention in choosing. If this conversation gave you clarity, recognition, or reassurance, like this video, share it and subscribe to never miss thoughtful content about love, health, and living fully. Leave a comment. Where are you watching from? Which need surprised you most? I read every single one. This is Dr. Nora Hayes, reminding you the love you're trying to build is absolutely worth it. He is worth understanding, and so are